Good evening. I'm Dana McClurg. I appreciate your time and attention this evening and allowing me to speak to you about a topic of great importance, the importance of which I believe cannot be stressed enough. The topic that I'll be talking to you about tonight is PPE for protection and preservation. You may be sitting there thinking, Dana, what is PPE? Well, I'm glad you asked. PPE is an acronym for Personal Protective Equipment. And a summary of Wikipedia's definition for PPE basically states that PPE refers to protective clothing and equipment designed to protect the wearer's body from injury. And some of these types of clothing are illustrated in the graphic below, such as eye protection, head protection, ear protection, safety boots, gloves, and overalls, which will be gone through in the next slide. More details to follow. The next question you may be thinking is, what does PPE protect? Well, that is a very good question. And basically, PPE protects workers from hazards in the workplace that are unable to be removed or controlled. The ideal case would be to remove any hazards, but many times that is just not completely possible, so PPE is necessary for you to protect yourself. The main objective for PPE is used to protect and preserve the well-being of the worker to continue to work safely. The main objective in working safely is to do an initial evaluation of your work environment. You should always think safety before beginning any work. This rule should not only be applied in work situations, but in home environments also. Think, is there anything I'm going to be exposed to that can cause bodily harm? This way, hazards can be identified beforehand so that the proper PPE can be utilized for the health and safety of the worker. Always think. Always stop and think and ask yourself, are you protected? The good news in safety is that we, the workers, have a group on our side to ensure that measures are being taken to provide a safe work environment. This group is OSHA. And OSHA stands for the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. And they established the Personal Protection Equipment Standard, 29 CFR 1910.132 through 138, all of which describes the specifications required for required PPE. This standard requires that employers must establish and administer an effective PPE program for employees and that employees be trained in the proper use of PPE. Also, PPE must be provided to workers at no cost to them. And basically, PPE is divided into 7 categories. The first category of PPE is head protection. If there are any hazards if you are at danger for impact from falling or flying objects, as you can see from the guy in the picture, the safest place is to be under your safety helmet in this situation. There are also other options for head protection, which is hard hats, safety helmets, bottom caps, and hair restraint if needed, which caps for hair restraint. The next category of PPE is eye and face protection. If there are any hazards such as chemical or metal splash, dust, mechanical irritants, projectiles, gas, and vapor radiological hazards. Just like the sign says, foresight is better than no sight. You only have 2 eyes, so you need to protect them. Take just a few seconds to don your PPE, and you have the choice there, the safety glasses, the goggles, face shields, and full visors. Sometimes safety glasses are enough, but if you need to protect it from some type of gas, the goggles would be a better option. And on to the third category. And the third category of PPE is respiratory protection. And this one is an easy one to overlook because some exposures have cumulative effects, such as dust, as from like a sandblast. The tiny dust particles respirated while working can cause a serious disease called silicosis, which is caused by inhaling silicate, which is what is in the sand and some types of concrete. Also, the dangers from certain types of gas, or maybe if you're going to be in an enclosed space where you could have an oxygen deficient atmosphere. In all of these cases, some options would be disposable filtering face masks or respirators, half or full face respirators, or air-fed helmets. Alright. And the fourth category of PPE is the hearing protection. Now, this is also known as the invisible occupation hazard. And the reason it's considered as invisible is because essentially it has no visible effects, and hearing damage often goes undetected. And whenever there is an identified hazard, such as consistent noise level above 90 decibels or exposure to noise levels above 115 decibels for greater than 15 minutes, according to the OSHA standard, you need to be wearing ear protection. And just to give you some kind of an idea, on the side there, like 85 decibels is your risk for hearing damage, and so like 90 decibels above that would be like a lawnmower. Like I said before, a single exposure to a loud noise can damage your hearing permanently, but a good rule of thumb would be if workers have to shout to hear each other, then the noise level is likely above 95 decibels, so you would need to be using your PPE options, which could be properly fitted earplugs or earmuffs. And as I said before, hearing damage occurs after only one exposure to high levels of noise and is irreversible, so protect your ears. Alright, and on to the fifth category of PPE, that's hand protection. So, you have to be able to do your work, so you need to protect your hands. So, if you could be exposed to extreme temperatures or cuts or abrasion, chemicals, electrical shock, evaluate your work environment, and you need to be wearing some type of PPE, such as, gloves are the obvious choice, but there's different types of gloves. But if your arms or, greater than your hands are at risk, there's the gauntlets and the mitts. And some examples of the welding gloves are the leather, that would be more for like a construction environment, and the welding gloves, to protect your hands from excess heat, and then the chemical resistant gloves, and then the special purpose gloves like cryogenic gloves for extreme temperatures. Alright, and the sixth type of PPE is foot protection. So, protecting your feet is very important, because you need to be able to do your job. So, if you could be exposed to any type of slippery or wet surfaces, electrostatic buildup, cuts, punctures, falling objects, metal chemical splash, or abrasion, you need to be wearing boots or shoes. If you're going to be exposed to like falling objects, then boots or shoes with steel toes are the best option, of course. And they do have some composite toes also that are a little bit lighter. And leather is usually the best option. So ultimately, protect your feet. And last but not least is the 7th category of PPE, which is protective clothing. And in the picture, some of them I've went over already. See, except ultimately, like, if you could be exposed to any of these hazards, such as extreme temperature, adverse weather, chemical metal splash, spray, compressor leaks, impact or penetration, contaminated dust, excessive wear, or if your clothing could become entangled, you could be using some of these options. Disposable overalls or oversuits, such as if you're in a working environment and you could be carrying home some particles, some abrasive particles, you might want to invest in, well, your company should be providing you disposable overalls or oversuits. Also, if you maybe work at night, some high visibility clothing should be used to protect you. The bottom line is that when PPE is consistently used, it will consistently protect, but there has to be a commitment. There needs to be a commitment to safety and active participation by all stages of management and workers to be effective. So, some workers will even incorporate some forms of incentive programs for safety compliance. So here is a company, Caterpillar, that is exhibiting initiative in safety through the use of safety incentives. So essentially, it's like a tally. So each month they'll do an evaluation of how many finger injuries, leg injuries, foot injuries, head injuries, and then I'm sure the workers will get some sort of incentives. I don't know if it's it has to do with pay or just some benefit to them, to ensure the safety compliance. So it really makes it good if they have that, some kind of a program like that involved. So lastly, and most importantly, everyone needs to be on the same page with the workforce, with workforce training and enforcement. So according to OSHA Regulation 29 CFR 1910, employees must provide training for each employee who is required to use PPE in the workplace. And we should ensure, why it is necessary, yes, we should ensure that the worker using the PPE knows why they need to be using it, and that to make sure that they're using it correctly, and make sure that they're inspecting it on a regular basis so that that it could either be repaired or replaced, to make sure that the PPE is consistently doing its job. Also, never allow exemptions for just those jobs which just take just a few minutes. It could take just a few seconds for an injury to occur if they forgot to put their safety glasses on, they could have an eye injury, or they may think, well, I'm just exposed to this dust for just a few seconds. Well, cumulatively, it could cause a problem. So don't skimp on your PPE. Also, workforce should be monitoring the use of PPE regularly to make sure, because when people are being watched, they feel like they need to do everything correct. But if they're going to be checked, then they need to be they'll be more consistent with their use. So also, safety signs could be used as helpful reminders to wear your PPE. It could be real easy to walk into the lab, and forget to put your safety glasses on. But if there's a sign at the door, that says going into this lab, you have to wear this type of PPE, then that could help, jog your memories, like, oh, I gotta do this. So, also, overall, providing workers with the necessary PPE helps keep them safer and can lead to higher productivity and less illnesses and injuries. Statistically, that's absolutely correct. So, ultimately, wear your PPE. So remember, be safe. You haven't got 9 lives. Wear your PPE. And special thanks to my technical affiliates for all their labors. And that's it. Thank you guys for your time. Are there any questions?
If you're wearing contact lenses, sorry, I have a question.
Okay.
If you're wearing contact lenses and you are going to use a respirator, would you think it's a good idea to keep them in or take them out in a contaminated environment?
You should definitely take them out, I would say, because the gases or any kind of matter could collect on the contact lens, and you wouldn't know it. So definitely would take them out. That would be the best bet. Any other questions? Yes.
Should it be company policy that there be a sign placed at every area that you need PPE?
Yes. Your workplace should definitely be providing you with that note. That they should definitely be instructing you or where the hazards are. If they're not, then they're being neglectful of their job. You know, they should know all of those and instruct you and ensure that you're using all the proper safety precautions, including suns. Any other questions?
I have a few.
All right.
Are companies responsible for purchasing PPE for their employees?
Yes. All of the costs for PPE are required for the employer to provide.
As a firefighter, and our environments are very stressful and most of the time very chaotic. But in the heat of the moment, we are needing to pull an electrical meter. Would it be important for us to refer to an electrical type glove versus our bunker gloves that we normally use?
Yes, it would. I would think that you definitely need to take that precaution with the electrical type glove. I mean, not something that will protect you from the current. Not just you wouldn't be able to wear like a neutral glove. That definitely wouldn't protect. So yes.
Okay. And then I have one more. Would you recommend wearing earmuffs over earplugs?
For different situations, like if you were just going to be exposed just for some monotone, just some low drones, earplugs would probably be more convenient than earmuffs. In the case of to use earmuffs, I would say like if you're going to be using a lawnmower, you're going to be outside, or if you're exposed to like airplane noise or whatever, the earmuffs would probably be the better choice. I think earplugs will decrease decibels by like 30 decibels, but I think that earmuffs have higher capabilities.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.